This video is kind of different from the rest of the videos that I've made in the past because it doesn't resemble cars or cameras, but more or less, typewriters. I'm going to tell you the story of how I got into typewriters and why they're beneficial. I'm going to start off with the story behind the first typewriter here. This is a Brother Charger 11. This is my first typewriter I ever got. I paid $5 from a garage sale for it, and I never looked back. All I ever heard from the guy who sold it to me was that you're never going to be able to use this 5 years from now. Well, whoever he is, he was wrong. That typewriter is the best for me because it is the most compact, small version typewriter that you can have, and it's one of the few that is really compact. I mean, being only about 2.5 inches tall, this typewriter works splendid. Now, why did I get a typewriter, you ask? Because there's something a little different about it. I mean, I carried it to high school quite a few times actually, and I used it. And now, here's the funny thing. I'm not a good writer, as you can probably tell by the description below. But it did help me write. It helped me kind of express words out a little better by using a typewriter and being one with the writer, if you will. Now, this Brother is actually a really nice piece, only because it's something that you can use just about anywhere. Now, I've always dreamed that if I went camping or I went on a long journey, that I would carry this typewriter with me, kind of to document the moment. Because you're not writing it on a format that would get really lost, like say online or on your computer, it would be more beneficial for you to use it when you're road tripping or trying to capture a moment, because it's documenting what's really there at the moment. And I'm not saying that online resources aren't like that. It just means you're one with the moment. And that's how I found it. I've used this quite a bit, and I still use it today. I've wrote many things with it, and it's just something to keep along. Moving on. So that first typewriter started my skew of typewriters, on which I now have 4 of. 4 typewriters from different manufacturers, and they are all different in their own ways. I mean, take the compact size of this one and we move to the Smith Corona. This is a Smith Corona Super Speed from 1952. Instead of 1967, we moved even earlier back. This one is from 1952, or so the research is that I dug up. Both of these typewriters are fully manual. They use no electricity whatsoever to function, and you're able to type with a single ribbon that costs you $5. So inexpensive and functional. This Super Speed I got out of an office building that was closing down, and I really wanted it only because it was pretty clean and mint. The person who I got it from when that store closed down, it stayed in the display window as a mantelpiece, but no one knew if it was functional or not. Well, it collected a lot of dust while sitting there. And after blowing off the dust and giving it a little oil, this thing works absolutely great. And it is a great thing to have. I mean, the sound, the clicking, the mechanical aspect of it is great. I wish you could get the correction ribbon still or the red tape ribbon, but sadly you can't get those anymore. This features more or less a tab set and then a middle space bar in the center. Now this is kind of more of an earlier form when typewriters were still boxy and square and non-streamlined. But nevertheless, it still works the same as any other one and uses the same ribbon cable as the one from the 60s, the one from the late 60s. It's virtually unchanged from its original predecessor. I mean, all you do is feed paper in here, twist it, and go. Now this one I wouldn't take traveling. It's too bulky unless you live in like a camper, like a full-size RV, where you can mount this somewhere. I wouldn't take this traveling. This is an office piece. I mean, this is something, this is a big bulky piece. Yeah, this is a big piece that you wouldn't take traveling. Only because it's so bulky, it's big, you can't do anything with it besides type. It's more something you would keep in your stationery set that's inside of your office at home or at your desk at home. It's got that retro aesthetic to it, and it has been fully cleaned and restored and oiled. So this is a piece definitely to keep around. It seems as typewriters continue to live on, they become harder to find as the price increases on them because they're becoming more of a rarity. There was a period of time, say 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago, between that margin, kind of like Polaroid did, where people didn't want these, so they started just tossing them out. Thrift stores weren't selling them, so they just tossed them straight in the metal bin. And one piece of great history that lasted an eternity is now resting in some landfill or melted down to make our cans. Just nice to, it's just nice to have these things still around, and I don't think I'll be getting rid of them anytime soon. Even when I move, I don't think I'll be getting rid of them anytime soon because there's something really beneficial about them. Oh God. Moving on to the last typewriter I have on this table. This is a Sears Electric 12 from 1967. And this is the only one that I have that's electric. Now all you do is switch this on, and you just heard it click. It does make noise. You're not sitting in a room of white noise when you're using this typewriter. This typewriter has the ability to change how hard you're hitting the paper, but that's pretty much about it. For the sake of this video, I'm going to turn the typewriter off only because it is loud. I mean, besides the clicking, it is loud, and it just might need a belt. But this was built by Sears Roebuck and Company, and if you know anything about Sears Roebuck and Company, they are no longer around, nor is Sears the predecessor brand. This typewriter uses the same ribbon configuration as the other two, and it works absolutely great. All metal construction. I mean, what more could you ask for? I wouldn't take this on a journey with me. It does come with a case, but if you're limited on space, I take that Brother Charger instead, only because it doesn't use electricity. You're able to use it offline, and you don't have to plug it in anywhere, and it doesn't take that many amperage. Why do I have typewriters? Well, it started out as wanting one, and then you start to use it. And in a technological world, you start to use it, and it helps you correct your mistakes, but it helps you become a much better writer. Instead of having to write by hand, which some people do, I like these. It allows you to see your mistakes, and it makes it so you can't mess up. Because if you mess up, you have to go back and rewrite, then reprint. And it's an all-around piece that is much better. The vintage aesthetic of it is also a piece that I like. Not only that, it's an all-mechanical piece with moving pieces that you know you can't mess up. Typewriters are definitely something that are a thing of the past, but they are coming back in a very beneficial way to the world of typewriters. If you're wondering if you want a typewriter or not, I'd say go for it. If you're going to spend $300 for a typewriter, make sure it's good. I mean, I've spent, all in total, all three of these typewriters that I showed you, they cost me $5 a piece, no problems. Maybe a little bit of oil here and there, but no problems whatsoever. And I mean, I would love to hear your typewriter story if you have one. If you want me to go more in depth on my story, I can do a real story time telling you the exact reason why I have a typewriter and what led me in the first place and how it's impacted my life as a person. And it has. I mean, it really has. So let me know in the comments below if you want me to go more in depth on my typewriter story, or if you want to know more about any three of these typewriters. I also have a Royal typewriter on side to the Sears, Smith, Corona, and Brother. And then I also have an Olympia. Hopefully you liked it. I will be doing a couple of story times telling you the stories of certain things that I've done in the past, whether it was beneficial, but they are stuff that has impacted and made me a person that's changed that I wanted to share on. So hopefully you'll keep up with that. As normal, don't forget, stay safe. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more.